two big foreign policy moves making big news today. The first on Iran. The president says he is calling on Tehran to come to the table to negotiate a nuclear deal. This from a preview of the president's interview with our own Maria Bartiromo that will air in its entirety Sunday.
I hope that Iran, and I've written him a letter saying, I hope you're going to negotiate, because if we have to go in militarily, it's going to be a terrible thing for them.
You wrote a letter to the Khomeini?
Yes.
When did you send the letter?
Yesterday.
And you said you better negotiate, or we want you to negotiate?
I didn't say you better. I said,
Okay.
I hope you're going to negotiate, because it's going to be a lot better for Iran. And I think they want to get that letter. The other alternative is we have to do something, because you can't let them have a nuclear weapon.
And on Russia, the president posted this earlier based on the fact that Russia is absolutely pounding Ukraine on the battlefield right now. I am strongly considering large-scale banking sanctions and tariffs on Russia until a ceasefire and final settlement agreement on peace is reached. To Russia and Ukraine, get to the table right now before it is too late, says the president. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett spoke to Fox about this just a short time ago.
President Trump is adamant that we need to get everybody to the table, and we could do that with carrots, and we could do that with sticks, and he's talking to everybody, and he's got, a whole litany of potential proposals that he could throw their way to get them to the table. But the bottom line is the president wants to stop the carnage.
In focus, Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace of South Carolina. She's a member of the House Oversight, Armed Services, and Veterans Affairs Committees and joins us now. Thank you very much. Good to see you, Congresswoman. So as we do anticipate the president a short time from now, what do you expect from him?
Well, if we're talking about Middle East policy and Russia policy, if that's what he's speaking on today, I just got back from the Middle East recently. I spent some time in Israel, met with Bibi Netanyahu, and understand the stakes right now with Iran. I was glad to hear the letter that he sent to the regime, because we cannot allow Iran to get nuclear arms in any way, shape, or form. We don't want Iran to go to China or go to Russia to get the things that they need to be nuclear armed. I hope that he'll look at also doing more severe sanctions against Iran, banking and finance against those that are funding the proxy wars in the Middle East. They are funding Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis in Yemen, et cetera. We need to cut them off, and we need to cut them off now. And he understands the importance of peace in the Middle East. He also understands the importance of peace in Ukraine. We saw when Zelensky visited the White House a week ago, President Trump was the only one that wanted peace in that room. Zelensky seems to still want war. So I am glad to hear that he's looking at sanctions for Putin, for Russia, to see if they can hold off any more of the bloodshed that's been happening in Ukraine. I hope that President Zelensky will come back to the table with Donald Trump and do the mineral deal so that we can have peace over there and get a ceasefire done everywhere. He's the guy that can make this deal happen.
How confident are you that that will happen?
Well, we did hear from Zelensky earlier this week, making overtures that he was willing to come back to the White House and do the mineral deal with the president. Sounds like he maybe has come to his senses. And for the country of Ukraine and for her people, I hope that he does, because if Donald Trump can do this deal and get peace in Ukraine, then the lives lost, there'll be no more. And that needs to happen, because Trump is the only one that wants peace right now. And I believe he's the only guy that can bring it.
Do you think this very open public form of negotiating is working for this administration?
I do. I absolutely do, because the world knows that Trump is a man of his word. He demonstrated that in his first administration. He is demonstrating that now. Everything he said he was going to do, the promises he's made, those are promises that he's also keeping right now. And since I just got back from the Middle East, understanding the nuances, what's at stake there, seeing the way Gulf states want to see peace as well in the Middle East, he's doing it. I mean, everyone's very worried and concerned, especially given some of the expirations that are happening in the JCPOA, the amount of time, whether it's months or weeks, that Iran can take to get to nuclear arms. We don't want that to happen. We need someone who's going to be a leader on the world stage to ensure that Iran is not armed with nuclear weapons, and Trump's the one doing it.
All right, I want to ask you about another topic that could come up when we hear from the president any moment now. A win for the Department of Government Efficiency. A federal judge, Congresswoman, denied an emergency effort to keep DOJ from assessing Treasury Department data. This all comes as President Trump is putting a finer point on Doge's mission. He's praising Elon Musk's work, but telling his cabinet secretaries they should make staffing and policy decisions, not Musk. So the president says he wants biweekly meetings between Musk and his cabinet to focus on a scalpel approach as opposed to a hatchet. Listen.
Elon has been really teaching everybody about the numbers that you can do. But what I want is I want the numbers, but I also want to keep the good people. We want to get rid of the people that aren't working, that aren't showing up, and have a lot of problems. You can't have that kind of fat. It's bloat, and like nobody's ever seen before, where you need 20,000 and they have 120,000 people, and you just don't need that many.
Doge is estimating big savings so far, $105 billion, and Americans appear to be loving it, much to the surprise of the liberal media.
This, to me, was one of the more shocking figures that I saw. Made me go, wait a minute, hold on one second. Whoa, Americans on Trump and Joe's efforts. Musk and Doge should influence government spending and operations. Look at this, 54%. The majority say that he and they should. How about approve of Trump trying to cut staff at government agencies? Again, you get a majority here, 51%.
All right, please do weigh in, Congresswoman. It does appear that this is winning the support of the American public.
Oh, absolutely. I have traveled all across the country and talked to different voters and citizens of our country. They love Elon Musk. They love Donald Trump. They love seeing the pair together. They love seeing what Doge is doing to showcase the waste, the fraud, and the abuse. They know that half of the government workforce hasn't been showing up to the office the last 4 years. They understand that. And if they got to go to work, they want federal government employees to go to work. And they don't want to send checks for millions of dollars to study Russian cats on treadmills. They don't want to spend $26 million at the NIH making mice trans and changing their gender. Doge is exposing all of this right now, and the American people are loving it. And again, this is a promise that Donald Trump made. It's a promise that he's keeping and that he's delivering. And I think Elon Musk is doing an enormous service to our country, and I'm very grateful for it.
All right, so now President Trump has repeatedly promised to get to the federal government out of education and give that power back to the states. We've been talking a lot about this. We're still awaiting more details on a reported executive order that aims to do exactly that. Education Secretary Linda McMahon is backing the president. This was from this morning.
He's made it crystal clear since the time he was running for president that this is his intent. He wants to make sure that education is back at the state level where it belongs, that our local school boards, that governors and teachers and parents are really the ones that are involved mostly in their children's education. When 70% of our students cannot read with proficiency, I mean, that's just incredibly difficult to swallow, and he's just not going to accept it.
And as Secretary McMahon mentioned, the most recent national report card, it is alarming. Less than 1/3 of 4th and 8th grade students got passing scores in reading. Similarly awful numbers in math. Trump doubling down on his plans to dismantle the education department.
I want to bring the schools back to the states. And, I've said it 100 times. We're ranked at the bottom of the list, and yet we spend more. I want to just do it. I mean, we're starting the process. We're trying to get the schools back into the states. Let the states run the schools.
The House Education Committee chair tells Fox he is all for Trump's ideas.
I support him in the fact that we need to abolish the Department of Education, return education to the states, especially for the K-12, but gain control of the higher ed institutions and make them work again. Whether we can abolish it or not is a question. It takes votes.
All right, so what do you want to see happen here, Congresswoman?
Well, Donald Trump is putting the power of education back into the hands of the people and parents by wanting to dismantle the Department of Education and putting that effort back into the states. And I'm a high school dropout, so I know very clearly how important it is to be educated and how much harder it is when you're not educated. And he's right. We spend almost more money than any other country in the world per pupil, per student in spending, and yet we're last in so many outcomes. We also need to have a greater focus on vocational skills. We should go back to either when you graduate from high school, you go on to college, or you have a skill to get a job, whether it's plumbing, electrician, carpentry. There are really great jobs that are out there. And I'm glad to see that this is happening, because I want to see more focus on teachers and students and getting an education and less on teachers' unions. The Department of Education has become a slush fund for teachers' unions who are more about advocacy and politics and about educating our students. And we're failing our country because we've allowed this to happen. And it's no more. Donald Trump's going to put an end to it.
Nancy Mace, thank you very much for joining us. Congresswoman, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right.